So first, some history about the backgrounds. So when the complexity field is younger, people want to prove circular lower bound, and then maybe show P is not equal to NP. But now we know it's very hard. But it was not the case back to the 1980s. At that time, the quest was to first understand the power of constant depth circuits. So they focused on the AC0 circuits, which is constant depth, and the circuits consist of AND, OR, and NOT gates. And in a beautiful line of works, people showed very strong lower bound for AC0 circuits. And the hard function is just parity. So parity is a function that outputs 1 while the number of ones is even. So people showed that AC0 circuits need exponential size to compute parity. So at that time, circular lower bound was very successful. So, okay, now we know parity is hard for AC0 circuits. So the next natural step was to make AC0 stronger. Maybe you can adding parity gates to AC0 circuits. So the philosophy was to strengthen the circuit class just a little bit by adding the most simple function it cannot compute as available gates. And then hopefully you can make the class stronger and stronger, and we'll get to general circuits very soon. So people then consider the AC0P circuits, which is AC0 circuits extended with mod P gates. Mod P means it outputs 1 when the number of ones in the input is a multiplier of P. So AC02 is AC0 extended with parity gates. Then people show that for a prime P, this circuit class is still weak. There's a strong lower bound for AC0P circuits for a prime P. And the hard function for AC0 with parity gates is just mod 3. Yeah. So nice. Everything so far was very successful. And now we know mod 3 is hard for AC02, which is constant depth and or not parity circuits. How about making AC02 a little bit stronger, like about adding mod 3 to AC02? Shouldn't be that harder, right? So AC02 at parity, at mod 3. Yeah. As you may already know, this circuit class turned out to be very hard to analyze. And things went pretty much downhill, and it seems very hard to prove lower bound for AC06. Indeed, it has been open for a long time that whether NEXP, the non-deterministic exponential time, has polynomial-size AC06 circuits of depth 3. Yeah, so it was very bad. But then this guy happens to be my advisor, come along and prove some very cool lower bound. So now we consider circuit class ACC0, which is AC0M, which is the union of AC0M for all constant M. So the M here can be uncomposited, so it can be a non-prime. So 8 years ago, Ryan Williams proved that NEXP does not have polynomial-size AC0 circuits. So it resolved the mentioned open question. So this result is very interesting because it crossed all the barriers in circuit complexity. We know for decades that we have like barriers as relativization, algebraization, and natural proofs, which prevent us to prove strong lower bounds. But this lower bound technique has circumvented all these barriers. And also, in terms of proof techniques, it uses algorithm to prove lower bounds, and it combines lots of previous germs in complexity, like PCP theorem, IP equals P space, hardness versus randomness, and also time hierarchy theorems. To combine lots of stuff together to prove this lower bound. But still, although it's a big breakthrough, it still has some drawbacks comparing to previous lower bounds, as you can see. So first, NEXP is pretty big. we want to prove some NP lower bound, but now we have a function in NEXP. And previous lower bounds are usually for easy functions in P. As you see, like parity or mod 3 or majority, they are all linear time computable. And also, this framework seems only can prove worst case lower bounds. And previously, people can also prove average case lower bounds for AC0 or AC0P. And the average case lower bound is more have more applications like building PRGs and other stuff. So in order to like make the lower bound stronger, people has worked on has several works improving the result. So in 2012, Williams proved that the NX cap NEXP has no polynomial size ACC0 circuits. So NX cap NEXP is the exponential time version of the more famous class NP cap NP, but it's still pretty big. And in 2017, Chen, Oliveira, and Santhanam, this Chen is not me, and they proved that NX cannot be approximated by ACC0 circuits. So they extended to average case, which is great. And then last year, Murray and Williams, they proved that NKLP, which is non-deterministic Quasi-Polynomial Time, which is 2-2 polylogon, does not have polynomial size ACC0 circuits. So this is pretty good because they make NXP much smaller. And the NKLP is much closer to NP comparing to NXP. So in this work, we improving all the mentioned works by showing that NKLP cannot be approximated by polynomial size ACC0 circuits. And the same also holds for NKLP cap NKLP, which is the quasi-polynomial time version of NP cap NP, with one bit of advice. There are some technical details, so you have to assume one bit of advice, but it's not a big deal. Yeah, so in order to show the result, I have to say something on why average case lower bounds are harder using this framework. So to show this, I have to like give you an overview of how the previous lower bound are proved by Williams. So the idea is pretty simple. You want to show it by proof of contradiction. First you assume NQP is in ACC0 circuits, ACC0. And then you apply the so-called easy witness lemma. This will show that every NQP verifier have a polynomial size ACC0 witness. And this is the key step. I will explain it in details later. And then you use this and a non-trivial algorithm to contradict non-deterministic time hierarchy theorem. So the key step is the easy witness lemma. Oh, if you have any question, just feel free to ask. So as L be a language in non-deterministic quasi-polynomial time, and V be a verifier for it. So this means X is in L if there exists a Y such that Vxy equals 1. So Y is the witness for the fact that X belongs to L. And V takes polynomial time. And the witness size Y is of quasi-polynomial size. So the easy witness lemma shows that if NQP has polynomial size ACC0 circuits, then all verifier V for L in NQP have ACC0 succinct witness. What does this mean? It means that X is in L if there exists a polynomial size ACC0 circuit D, such that Vx and the choose table of D equals 1. So now you can assume you don't have to search for all the Y. You only need to search for Y that has a succinct representation as the ACC0 circuit D. And notice this circuit D has L equals log Y equals polylogon inputs, because the truth table has size quasi-polynomial size, so it has polylog inputs. So it's actually a very large circuit considering its input length. as poly-n actually equals 2 to L2 epsilon for some epsilon, right? Because poly-n is 2 to O log n, and L is polylog n. And then you try to contradict non-deterministic time hierarchy using PCP theorem. So now you assume NQP belongs to has polynomial size ACC circuits, and let B be a large enough constant, and L be such a language. Then you can use a very efficient PCP verifier V for L. V takes an input X and some random inputs, random bits, and then the V gets access to an oracle, which is a function on L bits, and then makes polylog queries to the oracle. And this V can be implemented as an AC0 oracle circuits. And by the property of PCP, we have completeness and soundness. So if X is in L, then there exists an oracle such that V will accept on all random bits. And then if X is not in L, then for all oracle, V will accept with a small probability. So now by the Lijie-Witten's lemma, we can think about this verifier V as a verifier for the language L. So if there is an O which makes V accept with high probability, then there is such an O as a polynomial in n size ACC0 circuits. Because you can think about the truth table of O as a witness. And then by the Lijie-Witten's lemma, this truth table has a succinct presentation of as ACC0 circuits. So just recall the properties. X in L implies that exists a polynomial size ACC0 circuit C such that this O should be C. This O should be C. So now we can consider the following algorithm for a language L in n times 2 to log n to the B. So suppose we are given an input X. We get a polynomial size ACC0 circuit Cx on L bits. And we build another circuit D, which is Vx to the Cx, given random bits. Note that since Vx can be implemented as an AC0 oracle circuits, if you compose this Vx and this Cx, this D will still be in ACC0. So now you try to estimate the acceptance probability of this circuit D in some non-trivial time, using an algorithm by Williams, then and accept if this probability is bigger than 2/3. So this will put L in n time something smaller than 2 to log n to the B. This is a contradiction to the non-deterministic time hierarchy because it shows that this class is contained entirely in this class, and this is a contradiction. So alternatively, what we want to do is to maybe we can try to assume that for contradiction, NQP can be approximated by ACC0. And then we still try to apply some sort of Lijie-Witten's lemma, and maybe conclude that NQP verifier has polynomial size ACC0 circuits. And then we try to do the same. But the problem is that we don't have the Lijie-Witten's lemma anymore. Because now we can only assume NQP can be approximated by ACC0 circuits. So what we want now is an average case Lijie-Witten's lemma, something like if NQP can be approximated by ACC0, then NQP has ACC0 succinct witness. But the old proof doesn't work here, so it's not clear how can we prove such a statement. Yeah. So in order to get around of this difficulty, the previous work on NEXP used a big weapon. So they show that they can use the worst case to average case hardness amplification. So the idea was to start with a lower bound by Williams that NQP in NX have convex is hard for ACC0 circuits. And then you try to apply the worst case to average case hardness amplification. You can treat the truth table of L, this language L, as a message in an error correcting code. And then you build another language L tilde, whose truth table encodes an encoding of the message in this error correcting code. And suppose you can take this error correcting code as like locally decodable, and then the constructed language L tilde will be average case hard for ACC circuits. Just some standard tools. Yeah. Then you can apply some other ideas to get rid of the advice to put L tilde in NEXP. But the problem is that if you are given a language L and you want to compute the error correcting code of its entire truth table, the truth table has 2 to the n entries, so it takes at least exponential time. So in general, worst case to average case hardness amplification usually require at least exponential time. So it's not clear how can you do it in NQP, because L tilde will not be in NQP anymore. Previously, this works because you are working in NEXP. So you have the exponential time to encode the whole truth table. So now we want to prove an average case lower bound directly without going through easy Witch's lemma, because we don't have that. And also, we don't know how to make it work for standard hardness amplification, because it requires at least exponential time. So seems like we have to start from the beginning and revisit how the easy Witch's lemma is proved. Yeah, so next slide will contain some conceptual discussion, so some heavy definitions. So how easy Witch's lemma is proved? It actually has 2 components. The first one is almost everywhere MA lower bounds. The second one is infinite often non-deterministic PRG. It has so many, so let's get started. So first, almost everywhere is very complicated. Let's just pretend it's almost everywhere. So this says something like, for all k, that's a language L in MA such that for sufficiently large n, size Ln is bigger than n to the k. So this means the language on inputs of length n requires n to the k size circuits. And I will define MA in next slide. And what is infinite often non-deterministic PRG? So a non-deterministic PRG here means that a non-deterministic algorithm which either rejects or it outputs a list of inputs which fills the target circuits. So intuitively, this can be used to de-randomize an MA algorithm. And more details are here.
What's the input of that? What's the input of this right-hand side algorithm?
You mean the non-deterministic PRG?
Yeah.
Oh, so let me show it. It's here. So the algorithm is B here. It's given a parameter 1 to the n and gets some witness W. And on witness, it either outputs rejects, which is like termination, or it outputs a list of inputs, which fills the target circuits. Just enumerate all the seeds.
No.
Yeah.
What target circuits are you talking about? Maybe I'm just too confused right now. Maybe I'm too confused. Like, what target circuits are you talking about?
Oh.
So input is just a number written in binary, in unary, sorry.
You can think about target circuits as like maybe polynomial-size circuits for now. Because I will talk about some so non-deterministic PRG against some circuits. So this can be like NC1 or can be like general circuits or can be anything. So it's a general definition. Yeah.
What's the relation between those circuits and N?
N. Oh, so
And W for that matter.
W. Oh, so W should be like, can be polynomial in, the length of W can be polynomial in N or like quasi-polynomial in N. And the target circuits can be like polynomial, the size of that target circuit can be polynomial in N or quasi-polynomial in N. I'll talk about like many specifications of the parameters. So it's, yeah. Okay. So an MA algorithm is an algorithm that you are given an input X, and you get some witness Y, and then you toss some coins R. And so the definition shows that if X is in L, then there exists a witness Y such that AXY R equals 1 with the probability bigger than 2/3. And if X is not in L, then for all witness Y, the probability of acceptance is smaller. It's smaller than 1/3. So maybe it's clear from here. So suppose we have a non-deterministic PRG, and we can use this to de-randomize the MA algorithm as follows. So first you are given an input X. You guess an Y. You also guess a W. And then you reject if B1 to the N W outputs like termination. And otherwise you can use the outputs, the list, to estimate the acceptance probability of AXY with X and Y being fixed. And then you accept with probability 1/2. So the specification of NPRG depending on which circuits we want to de-randomize here. So that's why I didn't specify it. So if the NPRG works infinite often, then so does the de-randomization. So suppose the NPRG works on like an infinite number of n's, then clearly this de-randomization also works on infinite number of n's. Yeah, it is clear? Yeah.
Is R the output of B?
R? Oh, yeah, yes. R is the R. Yeah, so B outputs a list of inputs, just some pseudo random samples. Yeah. Yeah. So suppose we have almost everywhere MA lower bound, which shows like for our case that's a language LK in the MA such that for sufficiently large n, the size of LK sub n is bigger than n to the k. So now suppose we assume some NQP verifier does not have polynomial size witness. Okay, this one is unconditional, and this one is the assumption. Now, from the assumption, one can get a 2-2 quasi-polynomial time I/O NPRG, which fools all polynomial size circuits. So now for our case, that's a language L tilde in n time 2 log n to the b, such that L star agrees with LK infinitely often, and therefore this is not in P such poly. So NQP is not in P such poly. Taking contrapositive, NQP belongs to P such poly implies NQP has polynomial size witness circuits. So the structure here is that we assume NQP verifier does not have polynomial size circuits, and then this will imply NQP is not in P such poly. That taking contrapositive, you have this. So the key observation here is that this assumption will imply a construction of I/O non-deterministic PRG. And that can be used to de-randomize MA lower bounds.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So why do you consider MA over here? Why would you consider MA over here?
You mean almost everywhere?
No. Why would you consider Merlin author over here? Like why does it come up?
Oh, so this is because we only know how to prove MA unconditional lower bound. If we can prove non-deterministic unconditional lower bound, then we don't have to do anything, right? So this is what we can get. So because the de-randomization of MA is just NP, right? So if you can de-randomize MA using like non-deterministic PRG, then you have an NP lower bound, something like this. So yeah. So to summarize, MA almost everywhere lower bound and I/O NPRG together imply lower bound for non-deterministic time classes. And no succinct witness for NQP. So assuming NQP has assuming some verifier for a language NQP has no succinct witness, this will imply IO NPRG, and therefore NQP is not in P-such poly. Taking contrapositive, you have the easy witness lemma. NQP in P-such poly implies succinct witness for NQP. Yeah. So the observation here is that if we had an average case almost everywhere MA circular lower bound, and then IO NPRG, then we would have an average case circular lower bounds for non-deterministic time, because that if the MA circular lower bound works in average case, then after the generalization by IO NPRG, the NP language is still average case hard. You get. So the first attempt here is as follows. Suppose we try to prove an average case almost everywhere MA circular lower bound. And then we assume NQP can be approximated by ACC0 circuits and try to construct an IO NPRG. So if these two steps can be implemented, then we will have the lower bound. Because if assuming NQP can be approximated by ACC0 circuits, we have the IO NPRG. And then we use this IO NPRG to de-randomize the MA lower bound. Then we'll have NQP cannot be approximated by circuits, which is a contradiction to our assumption. So as it turns out, the first step is actually possible, but still very technical. Yeah.
So the contradiction you get there is that you would conclude that NQP is not contained in P/poly, I guess?
This is an average case MA circular lower bound. So if we have that generalization of this MA, we will have an average case lower bound for NQP. So 1 and 2 together implies that NQP cannot be approximated by P-such poly.
Okay, so the previous slide, that was just for showing that it's not contained in P/poly, but you're saying like just this would actually be enough to show average case.
Yeah. Here it's like we try to attempt the average case lower bound.
So you're actually like contradicting stronger than what you want. You're showing.
Yeah. That's true. So
okay. So you're assuming it can be approximated by ACC non, just so that actually it can't even be approximated by P/poly.
Yeah. But yeah, that's true. But it's only like first attempt, and it actually doesn't work.
Oh.
Okay. So the problem is actually with the second step. So if you assume NQP can be approximated by ACC0 circuits, it's not clear how can you construct an NPRG. So we want to, with this assumption, we want to construct an IO NPRG. How can we do this? So there's some previous work along this line. So Williams shows that assuming that P is contained in ACC0, which seems false, there's a quasi-polynomial time IO PRG for polynomial-size circuits. So how is this proved? This is a conditional result. How is this proved? So the idea is to start with a sub-exponential time witness size lower bound for unary non-deterministic 2 to the n time, which is unconditional. So this means there is a linear time algorithm Vxy with the first input of length n and the second input of length 2 to the n, such that for infinite number of n's, V1 to the n with y is satisfiable. But any y makes its output 1 implies that y is not the truth table for 2 to the n to the epsilon size ACC0 circuits. So if you think about this is actually, the V here is just an algorithm, linear time algorithm. So this is actually a hardness certifier for ACC0 circuits. So if you guess that y such that V1 to the n y equals 1, this means y is very hard for ACC0 circuits. So V is a hardness certifier for ACC0 under the assumption that P belongs to ACC0. This actually means the circuit evaluation problem is in ACC0. So general circuit will collapse to ACC0. So this is also a hardness certifier for general Boolean circuits. So now you have a you have a hardness certifier for general Boolean circuits. then you can use this to contradict the I/O NPRG you want. The idea is you pick a big constant b, let L to be log n to the b. You get some y such that makes v accepts. Then for infinite n's, y is hard for polynomial-size general circuits. Because y, the set of y is 2 to the L, and it's hard for 2 to the L, 2 to the L to the epsilon ACC circuits, and also for 2 to the L to the epsilon general circuits. Yeah. So then we can use the standard transformation to get a PRG from that y, because y is worst case hard for general circuits. We can use hardness transformation to Nissan-Wilson to get a PRG, which is now we have a quasi-polynomial time non-deterministic PRG. So the problem is that we cannot assume P is in ACC0 because we only know y is worst case hard for ACC0 circuits. And this is not enough to get a PRG for general circuits. But okay, we can at least assume that NQP can be approximated by ACC0 circuits. Maybe that helps. So how can we make use of this assumption? So we have considered the NC1 class, which is circuits of constant fan-in and of log n depths, which is called NC1. And there's an old theorem in crypto shows that there is actually a random self-reducible NC1 complete problem. So,
sorry, what does it mean to be NC1 complete? Like under what reduction?
And under AC0 reduction.
Okay.
So it means, okay, so let me just specify. So if a language is NC1 complete, it means that for all the language L prime in NC1, there's a AC0 function f such that Lx equals Lfx. Yeah, L maybe use this tell that to make it clear. Okay.
Sorry, yeah, you said that's uniform AC naught, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter, I guess. Yeah, you can assume it's non-uniform. Yeah, because we consider circuit class, non-uniform is better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, random self-reducible means that if you have a truth table which has some error, you can actually correct it by random self-reduction. So this actually means if uniform take this language, and because this language is clearly NQP, so this language can be approximated by ACC0 circuits. And then you can use the random self-corrector to compute this language exactly in ACC0. And because this language is NC1 complete, you actually collapse NC1 to ACC0. So if you assume NQP can be approximated by ACC0 circuits, then you have the collapse that NC1, you can collapse NC1 to ACC0. Yeah. So this is now our starting point. So now we try to proceed similarly. We pick a large enough constant b, set L to be log n to the b, and get some y such that v1 y equals 1. Then for infinite n's, we know y is hard for ACC0 circuits of size 2 to the n, 2 to the L to the epsilon. And because NC1 collapsed to ACC0, we also know y is actually hard for polylog n depth general circuits. And then we can use the standard transformation to get a PRG from that y, which is now we have a quasi-polynomial time I/O PRG, which only fools polylog depth general circuits, because y is only hard for polylog depth general circuits. So to summarize, we have a quasi-polynomial time I/O PRG, which fools polylog depth circuits. So now for the second step, we can only achieve a weaker stuff, which is IONPRG for polynomial depth circuits. But this is not enough to de-randomize a general MA language. Because think about how can you de-randomize an MA language? MA language is definition, NPRG. You actually want to de-randomize this circuit CXY, right? And so the NPRG has to full circuits, all types of all possible CXY, which could of course be a general circuits, and not like only log depths or polynomial depths. So our NPRG for low depth circuits is not enough to full this class. So how can we? Yeah.
Sorry, how is CXY defined in terms of X and Y?
Oh.
Is that just
let's see rest. Oh, so CXYR is defined as AXYR. So the MA language here takes AXY, and R. You fix the.
I didn't. Oh, the line break. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Sorry. So you fix the X and the Y. Yeah, and you try to de-randomize. So the generalization works by you guess Y and W, and then you try to de-randomize the CXY circuits. So how can we deal with this? So the problem is that we want to de-randomize CXY, which is defined as AXY with R as the inputs. So IONPRG would work if A, this predicate, has low depth circuits. So if A has low depth circuits, then clearly CXY, which is obtained by fixing X and Y, will also have low depth circuits, right? So now we try to do the following. We prove an average case almost everywhere at MA lower bound against polynomial depth circuits with the predicate A in uniform NC1. So now we want to assume this predicate A is in uniform NC1, so it has a low depth circuits. So this two is the final attempt in the paper. So now under the assumption, we can use the IONPRG to de-randomize the average case hard MA language. Therefore, we can show that NQP cannot be approximated by polynomial depth circuits. And clearly, AC0 has only log depths. If you think about it, because AC0 is contained in NC1. So this is a contradiction. Yeah, okay. Is this clear? Seems okay. Okay, so we already talked about the second step, which is using the random self-reducible NC1 complete problem. Now we consider the first step. So in the rest of the talk, I will try to outline a proof for the simpler case without the almost everywhere requirement, because that one is very complicated. So, okay, now finally I'm going to talk about some technical stuff. So, okay, so we want to show average case MA lower bound. So let's consider a baby version. So for all constant k, that's a language L such that L has a NC1 computable predicate A, and L cannot be approximated by k log n depth circuits. So because we weaken the assumption that we only need the worst case hardness. We don't want almost everywhere hardness or almost everywhere hardness. So previously, people already showed that MA is average case hard for n to the k size circuits. So we want to modify the result such that we weaken the lower bound, because now we only need to pull average case lower bound against k log n depth circuits. But we also weaken the language, and because we want it to have NC1 computable predicate. So the key is a p-space complete problem LP space with an efficient instance checker. Okay, so what is an instance checker? So this is an algorithm M, which is now you are given an input X, and I claim the oracle or to LP space. And MXO toss some coins and make some queries to all on the length of X. This is important. And it outputs something like in 0, 1, or question mark. So it's an instant checker because it satisfies two good properties. First, if O is the correct oracle, then with high probability, MXO will output the correct value. So it's correct when given a good oracle. Yeah. And also, suppose you are given a wrong oracle, it will never output the wrong value with high probability. So for our oracle, it either outputs a question mark or P space or the correct value with high probability. But it can say, I don't know. So this is called an instant checker because imagine you have a function and you have access to its implementation, but the implementation may be faulty or has some mistakes. And you want to make sure it's correct. And you want to do this by like black box access to the function. That's why it's called instance checker. So why do we want the instance checker? Okay, because this can be used to get an MA algorithm. So suppose this language on inputs of length n has a size S circuit. So then we can do the following to get an MA algorithm for this language. So given an input x, we get a size S circuit Cn. We toss some coins, and we accept if and only if mx with the oracle set to Cn and the random bits r equals 1. So it gets the circuit Cn for the language, and you use the instant checker to check it. Because the instant checker is randomized, so it's actually an MA algorithm. It gets the circuit and check it randomizedly. So when the answer is yes, on the correct guess, because we get an S-size circuit, so on the correct guess, we'll accept with high probability. And if the answer is no, by soundness of the instant checker, we'll accept with small probability. So this MA algorithm actually compute the language. Okay. So in the paper by Santhanam, there are two cases. The first case is assuming P space is easy. Suppose P space is contained in P-size poly. In this case, we actually know that MA equals P space. So then it's a folklore result that for all K, P space is average case hard for N to the K-size circuits. Then MA is also average case hard for N to the K-size circuits. So no problem, this case is easy. So for the harder case, that P space is not in P-size poly. Because LP space is a P space complete language. So this actually also means for all K, there's an infinite sequence Ni such that LP space is hard on Ni. So it requires at least Ni to the K-size circuits, which means LP space is hard. So on this case, so now let M be the size of this language. So M is bigger than Ni to the K. So now on inputs of length M to the 1 over K, which is bigger than Ni, you try to compute this language on the first Ni bits. You can do this by you get an M-size circuit and check that using the instance checker. So L is in MA because as we discussed. And then also L is worst case hard for N to the K-size circuits. And actually this language is in fact a polynomial. And you can use error correction for polynomial. So L is actually also average case hard for N to omega K-size circuits. So in order to do the adaptation here, we still do the similar analysis. The first case is P space belongs to NC1. And in this case is easy because similarly this case is easy. And P space is not in NC1, which means LP space is hard. So we can still simulate the previous discussion, the previous algorithm. So the key is that we want to maintain the complexity of the predicate A. So now, suppose this language has a depth D circuit. Then we can try to do the same. Now we guess that depth D circuit Cn and check it using the instance checker. The key point here is that also Cn here is only like depth D, and you can think about D as a polylog. So Cn has small depths. The key observation here is that M actually can be implemented in C1 too as well. So the whole predicate can be implemented as in NC1. So we can do a similar analysis, and you can and try to prove the baby version. Okay, it's very similar, so I don't cover details. And also you can extend this to other circuit classes. So the only property we used for AC0 circuits is that we have a non-trivial de-randomization algorithm for this case. The lower bound can be extended to any other circuit class if we have the corresponding algorithm. So for example, if we can de-randomize TC0 non-trivially, then we'll have average case NQP lower bound for TC0. But yeah. So our average case lower bound also works for a slightly general circuit class, which is called ACC0 of threshold circuits, which is AC0 at the bottom and a layer of threshold circuits at the bottom. AC0 circuits at the top and a layer of threshold circuits at the bottom. So finally, let me try to see what's missing in the talk. So first, I didn't even define what is almost everywhere. This is actually very complicated and highly non-trivial, so it's technically hard of this work. And also, the original peacefully complete language is actually a bunch of polynomials. It's instead of a single polynomial. We have to do some careful manipulation to make sure it's a one polynomial. And finally, you still have to do some amplification to get 1/2 plus 1 over polylog in approximability. Okay, so what is an average case? Almost everywhere lower bound. Let me just tell you the definition. So almost everywhere means essentially all input lengths are hard. So this is almost everywhere. And almost everywhere is that in a very precise sense, at least half of the input lengths are hard. So here's an example. This shows that for all k, that's an integer C such that, and a language L such that for all large enough n, either n is hard, which means on input length n, Ln requires n to the k size circuits, or m is hard, where m is n to the c. So basically, it pairs all the input lengths, but it puts all the input lengths into pairs, and it says that for each pair, at least one length is hard. So this is what it means. At least half of the input lengths are hard. Okay, there's still some open problems. So some open problems stemming from this work. So first, can we is there any other ways to construct IO NPRG under some assumptions? And if we can do this, they may lead to some other circuit lower bounds. And also, can we show more average case lower bound from this paradigm? So for example, if you think about the classic question of constructing a rigid matrix is actually just an average case lower bound against low rank matrix, right? Because you want a matrix which cannot be approximated by low rank matrices. If you think about low rank matrices as circuits, it's just an average case lower bound against low rank matrices. Actually, we did something, so more on the next slide. And then finally, can we get some unconditional quasi-polynomial NPRG for AC0 circuits? The best we know is only a non-trivial NPRG with n minus n to 1 minus delta c seed length, which is barely non-trivial. So can we do better, like polylog seed length? So here's what we did on. So I and George extended this paper to a task of constructing rigid matrices. So here's an overview. So we show that there's an p to the np algorithm m such that given 1 to the n, M outputs a Boolean matrix Hn of size n by n, which is omega n squared far from any matrix of this rank for infinite many n. So assuming NQP is contained in P-set poly, the above holds for a much larger rank. So this rank is not enough for variance original parameters, but they can imply PHCC communication lower bounds. So it's rigid. It's very, very rigid against this rank of matrices. So basically, how we show this? You can think about low rank matrices as a special circuit class, as I mentioned. So a rank M matrix can be think about as a Boolean function on 2 log n bits. And given the low rank decomposition M equals A times B, you have Mij equals Ai in the inner product Bj, which is ith row of A and j's column of B. You can think about M as a truth table and AB as a circuit for M. So the algorithmic approach to lower bound is trying to using circuit analysis algorithm to prove lower bounds. So what is the corresponding circuit analysis algorithm for this circuit class? So SAT is very simple. You are given A and B. You want to ask whether A, B. So you are given the circuit, and you want to ask a question about the truth table. So you are given A and B. You want to ask whether AB is all 0. And the sharp SAT is just that you want to count how many Ij such that Ai and Bj have inner product 1. And we want the algorithm to be non-trivial, which is better than 2 to 2 times log n, better than n squared. By a previous result by Chen and Williams, we actually have the non-trivial algorithm when the rank is smaller than 2 to root n. So basically, we define many P to NP machines, and suppose their output matrix are all non-rigid. And then we use the above assumption with the sharp SAT algorithm for low rank matrices to solve an n time to the n language in n time to the n over n to contradict the non-deterministic time hierarchy. And this needs some machinery to make it work. Yeah.
Hey, sorry, I'm curious. You said the rank was 2 to the root n. Isn't it n by a matrix? So that'd be 2 to the root log n?
It's an n by n matrix.
So
the rank. Oh yeah, it should be 2 to the log n. Yeah, sorry, it's 2 to the log n. Sorry.
To the root log n.
Yeah, to the root log n. Yeah, to the root log n. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So that's all. Thanks. Any questions?
So you're saying you're trying to get a P to the NP algorithm to output rigid matrices?
Yeah.
So does what you're saying this applies something for like communication places?
Yeah. Show something like.
I mean, is this explicit enough for that? I mean, why can't you just use like we know non-explicitly there exists really rigid matrices?
But you cannot construct them in P to the NP.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I guess I don't understand how in communication complexity would be useful to have them explicit like that.
Yeah, because so basically previously we don't even know how to prove like E to the NP has no PHCC communication complexity protocol, something like that. So it was a long-standing open question to prove any lower bound on PHCC communication complexity. They are very people don't know how to prove lower bound on them. So this actually can show some lower bound on them, which is not great, but still some lower bound.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are no more questions. Let's thank Lijie again.